All right. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for coming by again this week. This is Elizabeth and Jeff Beaudre for Tipple's virtual wine tasting from Gainesville, Florida. Let's get started. All right. This week, we are drinking kind of a fun one.
Okay.
Right. I know it's always like they know more than you at the beginning because it's always a reveal to you.
Yes.
So the Tikves Barovo red blend from Macedonia.
I remember now that we were doing Macedonia.
There it is.
Thank you, Paul.
That's right. Barovo, not Barolo, which would be Italiano. Right? So if you've not already done so, it's that magical time to pour yourself a glass. I'm watching Laura sip already. Cheater. Just mess.
Everyone is sipping
Right.
already.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Tasha,
Pop
Dr.
open that
Pepper,
bottle.
say,
Pour yourself a glass. We're always.
Yep. Thank you.
I'm actually fairly excited about this presentation. It's going to be fun.
Okay. You've been saying that for the past like 15 minutes.
So, all right. So let's jump over to the first slide and I will intro the wine
All right.
officially.
Okay.
All right, here it is. The Tikves Barovo Red from Macedonia, and it's from Barovo. Barovo is a single vineyard
Okay.
within there. So ratings, Jeb Dunnick 92, Jeb Decanter 92, Jeb Dunnick 91. In previous vintages, I mean, it goes up to 96 points on this guy.
Wow.
So it's no slouch, right?
Mhm.
And it doesn't really mean that much 1 year to 1 year. You know, you say, oh, it's a 96, it's a 92, must be a bad version. Still obviously not bad. It's above, outstanding. So,
Yeah.
and it could very much be subjective based on what that person was tasting at the time. Food pairings in this guy: bison burgers, beef bourguignon, mushroom ravioli, and a hunter sauce. Actually, I think somebody made a hunter sauce. I saw it in the discussion group before we got started. So
If you want to throw it in the chat,
yeah, I can't remember.
claim. You want me to stop the share for a moment?
Yeah, go ahead and stop the share.
Okay.
And we'll talk about some of these things. So chicory coffee dates, nice. Dried dark fruits. And okay. It sounds like that's observations that I'm about to get into.
Yes,
Not
yes.
quite yet, right? All right. Was it Linda or Laura that made the hunter sauce? Very nice. That's awesome. So varietal content on this guy, right? So what is in this class? Kratozija. All right. I know I'm butchering it, right? But Kratozija. That's my best. And Kratozija.
Okay.
All right. Kratozija. It could be either way, right? And
You may be, what is it, emphasizing the wrong syllable?
exactly.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
I could be all over the place on this and I apologize, but I couldn't even see any phonetic spellings, it's just, they listed it out. Like, obviously it's the Smith grape, so, like, help me out. Anyway, and the other one is Vranic
Okay,
with a V, Vranic.
like Vaudrey.
Yes,
Mhm.
right. ABV on this guy, 15%. So no shrinking violet.
All right.
There's nothing about this wine that is a shrinking violet. So though we're exploring a new area, I felt like we would tread upon some very comfortable ground with people that like big, bold reds.
Mhm.
The Smith grape
Yeah.
must be beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Obviously.
clearly.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, so I have a question back to the slide that
Mm.
I may have asked before, but I don't remember. When they are rating the wines,
mhm.
are they eating with it?
Not always.
Okay.
Yeah, not always. It's,
Okay.
sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Because I would think that if you're having a pairing, it is very much going to influence not only what you're tasting in the wine, but like your enjoyment of the, I mean, we experience that all the time.
Oh,
But even as a
absolutely.
professional, I would think if the pairing could be influencing what you're tasting in it. So it's going to
Yes.
influence your score,
Definitely could. Mhm.
but they don't
So-
have any regulations as to, no.
There's no regulations.
Okay.
Each score is created how that person wants to create it.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think we should start a WOW group publication.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll average the scores and just be like,
Oh, no,
This
that's
is-
fair enough.
We're gonna publish it.
That would be called the Tipple's Tasting Panel,
Okay, all right, have you come up with that?
the
or something?
TTP. No, I
Okay.
just did right now. But we can't use TTP because that's a golf course just to our use.
Okay,
so-
we'll come up with something
Yeah.
else. All right. Mhm.
So they
It's
might have
it's a different industry.
it's totally, technically we could defend it, but I'm
Okay.
sure they would be they would have objections. So
Okay.
actually that's TPC. All right, no, we can have a TPP. I'm cool.
Okay.
All right. No,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
TPP
you
is
know
on.
me.
Tipple Tasting Panel is
Who's
done.
down with TPP? TTP.
Who's down with TTP?
Mhm.
Yeah, you know
You know
me.
me.
All right, so let's go into, all right, so here we've covered the varietals. Aging potential in this guy. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Aging like 15 years?
10 plus years, I would
Okay.
go, all right? So you're dealing with, you've got nice tannin, higher alcohol, robust fruit. This has room to be stable, but evolve slowly because of those properties.
Would you like to start talking about what people are tasting
Yes.
now?
Mhm.
Okay.
So some of the notes that we're getting across the board
Mhm.
here, right? Chicory, coffee, dates, dried dark fruit, some dark chocolate and hazelnut.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And
What else do we have?
then here we have Linda or Paul or both. I really like this with an earthy food. It pairs well with beet chips. I feel like I taste something mineral-like or earthy that works well with the beets and the mushrooms.
No, I agree.
Mhm.
On the mineral side, there's volcanic earth in this area.
Mhm.
To me, it goes a little to the graphite,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
In addition to that, chicory, coffee, dark chocolate, baker's chocolate, graphite, a gravelly effect on this guy. Beautiful dark fruits, right?
Yeah, and Chris agrees with the earth foods, and then Linda agrees with the hazelnut.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
They are simpatico tonight.
The blackberries. So you notice on the finish here, though, on the finish of your sip, this is some really dark, rich fruit. But on the finish, it finishes with a little bit of tartness,
Mhm.
right? At the end of
Sure.
your sip. That is part of what will allow it to age. So there is acid here.
Okay.
Even though we talk about black, dark fruits, it's a ripe version of it.
Mhm.
A ton of spices, right? Many beautiful integrated baking spices,
Mhm.
right? So those nice, you can run the gambit of baking spices on
Yeah.
this guy. Now, and would anyone say a little bit of pepper? A hint of black pepper,
A hint
right?
of black pepper.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
not overwhelming,
Right.
right? But I'd go more with those wonderful kind of very warm baking spices on
Right,
that side of
right.
it.
So does that go along with, because one of the things that Chris mentioned, damp leaves, peat, which is that earthiness.
That earthiness,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So a little separate, the damp leaves, the earthiness is going to be a piece of that and a piece of the terroir coming through.
Okay.
All right.
Mhm.
This is going to be a little more of the spiciness. It's going to be a combination of the oaking
Mhm.
and the grape
The
itself.
grape itself.
Right.
Okay.
So they kind of one comes from the earth to the grape and the other
Mhm.
comes from the grape to the barrel.
Okay.
Right. So
Sure.
they're two different
So
sides.
it's both being influenced by both.
Mhm.
So, and then we have dark fruit like plum skin.
I like that. Yeah. So on the red fruit, like a red plum skin.
Mhm. Yeah.
Interestingly, so we're talking about a lot of minerality in addition to the
Right.
spice. You know, what's interesting, this is, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe so. I was looking through the website and it didn't explicitly state what they did with this, but they regularly ferment in concrete, bringing up all that mineral and
Okay.
earth, and then age in oak to bring
Okay.
out all the spice and mellow it out and mellow the tannins.
I don't know that we've had that before, because concrete seems like such a new world thing. The oak seems like an old world thing.
Actually, concrete shows up in the old world
Does
quite a
it?
bit. Mhm. Italy
Like
works with
with,
it.
like-
Mhm.
What are those big urns made out?
Oh,
Are they
those are
clay?
clay pots. Yeah, the amphora.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay.
But so we've got a ton going on with this
Yeah,
one, right?
yeah.
Is it, to me, it's as I work into this with what we're talking about, a lot across the board,
Mm-hmm.
complexity, balance, tastiness,
Yeah.
along with it, right? I can see why this thing is garnering great ratings,
Mhm.
right? And so to me, it's not a mystery. This is not a wine. This is a wine that what I liked about it immediately was, and I kind of said it on the way in, it's one that anyone can enjoy. But if you really want to deep dive into it, there's plenty to talk about. And I think that's fun.
So I have a question for you. So as far as the tannins go, like I feel them obviously across my tongue, but I'm feeling them a lot, like on the backs of my lips, the inside of my mouth, like I'm feeling it more there than,
Really?
yeah. Are you not?
No,
Okay, maybe it's how I'm swooshing it to
it may be the way, maybe
Okay.
in front of your teeth a little bit.
Oh, I'm gonna end up with red teeth.
This one will give you, this is a tooth stainer.
Okay.
Yeah, it will
Alright.
do so.
All right, I'll get my straw out so it goes right past the
I
teeth.
love all the conversation, right? No, you'll be. Love all the conversation about the flavors, and there's a lot to talk about in there, but.
Okay.
All right, so let's jump over and look at the bottle.
Okay, wait, can we talk about one more of the comments? So
Yes.
Chris was saying it smells tart
Mhm.
and tastes dark. I feel like I'm getting some earthiness in the nose.
Yeah, there's so much chocolate and earth on the nose. I don't know. Now the fruit's always fresh, like it's I wouldn't go as much into the dried fruit, which is nice, and so I think that's consistent from nose to palate. Where
Yeah.
you're talking about really deep fruit, but you're not talking about a prune, you're talking about plums, right?
Right.
So I'd go fairly fresh fruit on the whole thing.
I think as it's opened up, I just took another whiff of it and I was like, oh, never mind. I think it actually smells and tastes pretty consistent. But a couple minutes ago when I was first trying it, I was like, I smelled it and I was like, oh wow, it's like sharp. And then I took a
Okay.
taste and I was like, oh, it's like dark and earthy.
Yeah.
Going back to it now, I'm like, oh, it's probably just been opening in my glass and sitting
Oh,
there.
sure.
That could be.
In,
Now I think it's settled down a lot more.
in beer terms, it smelled like a creek to me.
Mhm.
But
Okay. I got you. So,
Whereas
and I
now I
love
think
that
it's
chicory
just a
comment,
little
by the
bit
way.
stout.
Yeah. Hmm.
What did you say? Because he was talking.
Oh, sorry. I said now I think it's settled into being like a stout, like a good coffee stout or something like that.
With cherries. Okay. It's a creek stout, which they do not make, but
Cherries and
still,
plums.
that's right.
Mhm.
But they should, right? I guess I'll get on. So. All right, yeah, love it. All right, let's talk about the bottle. So
The label.
the label. Thank you.
I didn't know if we were discussing the bottle.
No, the bottle is enormous, by
Yes,
the
I'm
way.
like, that's a huge
Yeah.
bottle.
It does not fit. I had to put it in the champagne section.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's up there with Dave Finney's stuff. So I put some of the highlights of what would have caught my eye. So
Mhm.
this is where we talk about the label from the point of view of you're in a wine store, and maybe it's a typical wine store
Mhm.
where you're not getting any help. And so you're wandering around and you see this label, and what would I pick up on this
Mhm.
to attract me to it if I knew nothing about the wine?
Right.
So we look at and we say Barovo domain. I mean, once again, I'm looking at that. I don't know.
Well, yeah, the picture says vineyards, so that gives
Right.
you more domain. Like, I don't know what that means,
Right.
although, I mean, I would think it'd be a specific area, but I'm not thinking it's necessarily a specific vineyard.
I agree. So the domain, you're like, it is nice to say, oh, Barovo vineyard. So that
Right,
does help
right.
kind of define it a little bit.
Mhm.
Dry red wine. Okay. I'm looking for a dry red wine that gets
Okay.
me on the path.
Right.
All right. The vintage is minimal. It's down here. It's a little tiny. Vintage 2018.
Mhm.
But okay. So I'm saying, okay, this is red. It's had a few years in the bottle. If it's a big red, which this is, it's going to need that time. All right. This is not in English, so that is not helpful to me, right? So I switch over to the back and we see who makes it. And we see down here, produced and bottled. All right, so that, I mean, this, so in the
There's a
end,
row there,
right.
and, yeah.
and then up here, it talks about the fact in the description here, it talks about the fact that it is a single vineyard. So we
Okay.
know that it is controlled, produced, bottled, vinted, and single vineyard from this guy. So that's a pretty special combo, right? So,
sure.
okay, this is, they're putting this stamp on this if you know nothing else. And then they do give the percentage of the grape, 65% Crotasia, right? And 35% Vranic. And it's like, okay, I don't know what those are, but I see this as Macedonian,
Mhm.
these are indigenous grapes and they've really put their stamp on it. So if I want to know a bit about Macedonia,
Right,
I'm all in, right?
Yeah.
So it does tell me that. Now, here's the frosting on the cake. You know how I say there were some importers
oh, right,
to just like, if you want to go next level with being able to find things,
Mhm.
there's some importers to know.
okay,
And that is, I know it's maybe kind of asking a lot, right? But
Mhm.
but if you're into it, if
Mhm.
you're into going to that level with your wine knowledge, Eric Solomon is one of those importers. Eric Solomon, unbelievable wines that he picks and works with throughout the world. The guy is special. You know, his stuff is absolutely fantastic. And this is an Eric Solomon selection. So for me, I'm okay. Here I am. It's an
sure.
Eric Solomon. It's great. Like, what's fun about Eric Solomon selections is, let's say you don't have anyone around and you want to get a maybe an old world wine.
Okay.
Old world, right?
Mhm.
So, and you know nothing else, but you know Eric Solomon decided to import this wine
Sure.
and work with this product.
Mhm.
You can, like, when you learn those
can
guys, you can
rely
say, okay, I can rely on Eric Solomon chose this.
Okay,
There's a couple of them that are that way,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's one of them.
yeah, because I think you've only said that a handful of
Only a few
times.
times.
Mhm.
Yeah, only a few times.
Mhm.
So anyway, and then it said also, it gives you the ABV, 15%. So you know,
Right.
hey, if I'm in the mood for a big red,
Right,
that 15% alcohol is going to indicate that's going to be big.
Mhm.
Right. So overall, those would be my impressions.
okay. And then we have a couple of comments.
Okay.
Okay, so they opened it 40 minutes ago and thinking it has continued to change and add to its complexity. It says open, which is exactly what Chris was saying as well.
Sure.
Very cool wine. I don't know
Excellent.
this one. Is there a reason for the deep punt?
All right, so that's all stylistic. It is
Mhm.
not something that must be. It is very helpful, basically for waiters pouring the wine.
Ah,
That's what,
okay.
you know, it's very helpful
So
to give
explain
you a
what a
grip on.
punt is.
So the punch is the deep divot on the
Okay.
bottom of the bottle,
Okay,
right?
so it makes it more friendly for restaurants.
Right, so
Okay.
you can be very fancy and you can
Okay.
just use one hand.
I'm just
You're
picturing
getting
that it's
nervous?
gonna be, yes.
Are you doubting myself?
No, but I have no glass underneath there,
Right.
so,
So,
okay,
absolutely, this is, and we hadn't talked about that yet, so I'm glad that the Paranellos brought that up. This is a wine that will evolve.
okay,
As we talk about the
Right.
wine and experience the wine throughout 20-30 minutes together, it will
It will
won't radically
continue to-
change, but it will continue to evolve.
okay,
Proportions of whether you might start out more mineral, it might finish more chocolatey.
Okay.
They'll all be there still,
Mhm.
but the proportion of what you're tasting will change.
okay, all right.
And perhaps a bit texturally with the tannins waking up. They open theirs at 7:30 and it's changed a lot,
Right,
right? So
Right.
you've got an hour.
yeah,
in.
so
Mhm.
they agree, absolutely.
So one of the descriptions for this area is New World fruit meets Northern Italian kind of Barolo type tannin and dryness.
Okay,
And I love that description because I find that to be kind of true.
yeah, I mean, even 100%. Yep, I think even I stopped and I was listening to that and then I take another sip and it's definitely changed.
Right.
Mhm.
Such a cool one. I was very excited when I drank it. So I know I say that a lot, but I
Right.
drink a lot of wine and I only bring the very few to this group.
That's
So
true.
I mean it every time.
Yep.
It's not insincere. So, all right,
Next.
next slide, please. All right, so this is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah, you get to say these.
I do. The red grapes of Macedonia. We have Kratozija, all right, and Vrana,
Okay,
which are our grapes. So let me get in here. It's Kratozija, Zija
Mhm.
is the national grape of, we say, okay, well, Vrana and they both are in Macedonia, kind of the national grapes.
okay,
But the Kratozija could also be called the national grape of the United States because it's Zinfandel. Boom.
oh, really?
Ah,
Ha,
there you go.
okay,
So Croatia to California to Macedonia, it is actually Zinfandel, which they weren't sure about until genetic testing.
Okay, so they did check it out with DNA.
Right.
Okay, yes, so that's interesting because I didn't know that Zinfandel had another name.
Yeah, it has, well, there's Primitivo in
Oh,
Italy,
that's right.
right?
Okay,
So, yes, so it is also Zinfandel.
okay.
Now, the other one, right, the Vranek
Mhm.
is also mostly related to Zinfandel.
Oh,
So these are basically two different versions of Zin-ish. The
Okay.
Vranek crossbred was something in the region a long time ago, and I couldn't find any definitive information on what that was.
Okay.
I think it may have died out.
mhm.
But what it did is it created a very tannic Zinfandel.
Okay,
And that's where these nice tannins come from. They're a little more aggressive than you often get in Zinfandel.
okay.
So when you get there, you get this kind of nice, dry Italian styling, but with the big fruit of a Zin.
Yeah,
And I thought that was, I don't know, super fun for me as a wine geek. And I know not everyone here has been with me on my whole, the United States makes 92+% of all the Zinfandel in the world. The United States grows the best, even though this guy can put his name in the hat, Zinfandel in the world.
mhm.
So even though we don't call it that, I believe it should be considered the national grape of the United States of America because of those factors. We grow by far the most.
Right.
We grow the best. And it just makes sense to me.
So we
I mean-
always tease Jeff that when he runs for political office, that is his entire platform,
That is it.
is Zin needs to be the national grape of the US.
Zinfandel should be the national grape of the United States.
Mhm.
No country in the world can claim Cabernet Sauvignon except for France. It came from there. They grow the most. And even still, it's grown all around the world. So even they don't say that's their only grape, right? Carmenere is the national grape of Chile. It didn't
Mhm.
come from there, it came from France, from
But
Bordeaux.
They're the ones.
But
that-
they're the ones that
right,
work.
have taken
Malbec,
over.
the same thing in Argentina.
Mhm.
I just think it makes sense. I'm not saying, but I'm saying. So, I may
Yes.
have strong opinions.
Yes, and Linda and Paul came up with the Jeff for president.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
exactly.
It's great. I should keep that graphic available to like throw in.
Oh,
onto
you
the
should,
things.
because they made you a poster saying.
They did, and I have it. I scanned it.
Mhm.
So, all right, black skinned, intense fruit, spice, and nice big color, all from, like Zinfandel. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay,
I like showing this. So Zinfandel's origin is Croatia. And other than the United States, it runs here to Macedonia, right? All through this group. Montenegro, they grow a bunch of it as well. So it runs through this whole area, and then it ran over to Puglia as well in the boot heel.
okay.
So it makes sense. It's concentrated here in the world, except for coming to the US.
Right,
And it found a great home here.
yeah, it obviously grows really well.
It does.
Mhm.
So let me go to the next page. All right, let's go to the next slide, please.
All right.
Oh, real quick, sorry, I raised my hand, but
Oh,
No,
sorry,
you're good.
I'm trying to be a good student. Okay, so you mentioned that you would compare it to something like Barolo, which is northern Italy. So why is that a comparison more so than like Greek varietals, seeing as Macedonia is closer to Greece and whatnot?
Okay, the only thing I would use for the Barolo comparison is the texture.
Okay,
So
Okay,
that is the thing. So just the small, they're almost powdery, a little bigger than powdery tannins, but they've got real oomph to them. And so that texture is more of what I would describe it as. That's why. But flavor wise, no, yeah.
cool, thank you.
yeah, great
My
question.
pleasure. Yeah.
Next.
Yes, please. All right, so grape anatomy on these guys. We're talking about intense skins
Mhm.
where the Zinfandel skin is not particularly thick. It's just very intense, which is why it doesn't tend to get a ton of tannin unless you really put it in specific
Okay.
situations. But the crossbreed, right? So where's my stuff? Anyway, that one does have a thicker skin. And so
The
the
Veronica.
Vronic thing.
Okay.
So the thicker skin,
See, I was listening.
thank you. Thicker skin, more tannins, it keeps the intensity,
Okay,
right? So Zinfandel tends to be a bit more about, red fruits along with the spices, which we have plenty of.
Yes.
But obviously they've got a bit more intensity in there with some of those darker blackberry
Mhm.
coming in as well. Chocolate is part of Zinfandel, so that was not a surprise.
But the darker blackberry and then the tannins are coming from the Veronic,
Right.
not from the, okay.
Yep.
So you're just
And
gonna call it
possibly-
Zin for the rest of the time because it's easier to say.
Oh, yes, that is. So, you know what? The cat's out of the bag. It's Zinfandel. Guess where we're going?
Okay, all right.
That's right. I'll call it
I was really looking forward to you pronouncing the other grape differently every time.
every
I say
time I say it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty much my goal.
it. Okay,
All right,
next.
next one, please.
All right. I'm sorry, did you say the percentages for each of these grapes?
Yeah, so it's 65% Zin
Okay.
and
so
35%.
Veronic.
yeah.
Okay,
All right, so where in the world are we? We are right in the middle, right up here.
okay, yeah,
We'll zoom in. So Greece, I'm gonna say there's not a lot of Macedonian wine maps, right? So,
okay. Shocking.
right, so it's where the white is,
Okay.
which is excluding it from that map,
Right.
but anyway, but that is where Macedonia is.
That's where we are.
Right.
Mhm.
Actually, what I kind of like about it, Macedonia, and one thing that can get confusing, Macedonia is a region
Mhm.
that is still in Greece, and it's a nation. Because Macedonia was a much larger area before, right?
Okay,
So here we are, and it was actually this whole area.
okay,
So you get to hear, this is where Macedonia was,
all right,
right? So it is, North Macedonia is now the country,
okay.
but you could call something Macedonian from all these different areas.
They still call it?
Some of them do.
Macedonia?
They do. They'll
Okay.
call it like a Macedonian region within Greece as a sub
Okay.
viticultural area.
I mean, you look at this and it's in Bulgaria, Kosovo, Serbia, Albania,
Right,
Greece, and then North Macedonia.
right.
So that's interesting. I thought you were just showing us the history of it. I wasn't expecting them to still
Oh,
call it that.
some of them do. Some of them do. Not all, but but they can and some do.
Okay,
All right, so Macedonia. Northern Macedonia gained its independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. Was historically part of, kind of northern Greece area and all those
Mhm.
those areas. Winemaking dates back within this region 4,000 years.
so that's really not surprising when you consider it's Macedonia. So,
Right.
yeah, but wow.
It was the most important winemaking region for the Romans.
Okay,
So when you look at it, you say, okay,
Mhm.
this was the most important winemaking region of the Romans, and we don't have accurate descriptions of when Zinfandel arrived,
okay,
but potentially that
Mhm.
means that Zinfandel was the wine of the Romans,
wow,
potentially.
sure.
I mean, I can't say it for sure. But anyway,
Potentially. Yeah, if that was their most important wine growing region, then
Mhm. yeah, so the Romans might have been drinking Zin. Would have been a much sweeter version. They didn't.
oh, yeah,
yeah.
you said that,
Dry wine was not what they were doing.
right.
Until really fairly recently in winemaking, in the history of wine.
Mhm.
It was sweet wine for the most part. Until we were talking lower alcohol because they left sugar in.
Right,
And that was because they couldn't control the temperatures, they couldn't keep the yeast going,
Mhm.
they'd fall out of solution, they'd get exhausted, probably around 8%.
okay,
And you had one major headache in a bottle, right?
Oh,
Because you're
right.
dealing with sugar and alcohol. If you got drunk on several bottles of wine back then, yikes, I don't even think.
I mean, I'm thinking if you had several bottles of wine to yourself
Mm. Don't forget,
now,
that changed because of the higher ABV.
okay.
So the original 750 milliliter bottle size,
Mhm.
where did that come from, right?
Right,
Why was that ever created?
Yeah.
There was, of course, at one point in time, there was no standard.
Yeah.
When they created the standard, it was long enough ago that it was a lower alcohol in the wine.
Mhm.
So one standard bottle of wine at 750 milliliters
Mhm.
was what one expected standard man would drink during one meal,
Oh, wow, but it was 8%.
but it was lower alcohol.
Right,
Right.
That's, wow.
And of course, don't forget, we're talking about European meals that last hours,
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
Not like Americans, get in, get it done.
right,
To us, an hour and a half is leisurely, and they're like, what's, 3
right.
4
No,
hours.
that's true.
So you have to take those into account, but that is where the 750 milliliter standardization came from, was the amount they expected one regular man to
Mhm.
drink during one meal.
When did that come to be the standard?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I remember the other.
Which country was it France or, okay, all right.
I didn't expect to cover that. I just thought it was
You're
interesting.
supposed to
And
anticipate what I'm gonna ask you, so you have the answers.
well, look, I didn't expect to cover the wine bottle size. I was inspired and I put the part I remembered out there.
No, that's very interesting. It'd be interesting to know where it came from too.
I agree.
There's your homework.
Thanks. Thanks, Teach. Okay, it is a mountainous region.
Mhm.
But it's not too far away from the Aegean Sea, which we saw on the
Mhm.
map, right?
Mhm.
So it's mountainous influenced and maritime influence.
Okay.
So the maritime influence will do things like keep it from getting too cold in the winter to kill the grapes, the
Mhm.
vines themselves, right?
Mhm.
And it will moderate, with some sea breezes, how hot it gets. And then the mountainside, right? Well, elevation, you get up there, you have thinner air, you thicken the skin of the grape because you have greater UV,
Mhm.
higher UV rays on the grape skins up there, right? So, and then more intense, let me say. And then in the evening, the cool air rushes back down out of the top of the mountains to cool things off and stop ripening, to
Oh,
give you a
right.
longer
Longer.
ripening season. And then in this particular area where we're talking now, it's surrounded by mountains on 3 sides.
Oh, okay.
So it creates kind of a rain shield. And so they are able to go through a long ripening season with minimal rain, so things don't get diluted toward the
Right.
end of ripening on the grape. So let's see here, alluvial soil. So a lot of it was deposited by rivers and such years
Mhm.
ago. And so we're talking about sand pebbles, clay deposits, but down underneath that, so it drains quickly.
Mhm.
But then deep down, you get to really thicker clay, and it collects the and volcanic
I
material
was
left
just
over.
thinking this because I thought you said volcanic.
I did.
earlier.
So that's low, right?
Mhm.
So when they're pulling up, so the water goes down and collects down low. So they don't overly hydrate the grapes.
Okay,
But it's enough that during this long dry season, the grapes can still find water.
okay,
And as they pull up the water, they're pulling up the minerality from the volcanic
okay.
deep bedded soil.
So almost like having an aquifer, like we.
Yeah, a little, almost. It's
Okay.
not quite that same thing,
Mhm.
but similar.
Okay,
All right, so,
next,
yep,
all right.
we're looking a little bit more of the Macedonia. You can see the soil right there,
Yes, mhm,
kind of a sandy clay
Mhm.
thing.
definitely.
And like I say, and this, and a lot of it is kind of a hilly, in the valleys and between the mountains. Some of it's a little up there, but it's all higher elevation because this is a high elevation valley floor,
Okay.
well above with the mountains around it, even higher.
Okay, yeah, because this picture looks pretty flat here.
Yeah, this could
Mhm.
be inland California. So,
Can you go over what, and I know you haven't mentioned it here, but we haven't talked about it in a while. And it's on a lot of my crosswords, so, loam,
loam,
what's in loam?
loam. All right, loam is sandy clay, basically.
But
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, it is basically. It looks a lot like this. There are a lot of them. They're like, it's alluvial, it's sand with pebbles and clay, and they're like, well, and then there's loam, and it's sandy clay.
Okay,
Low organic material is
Okay.
important,
right,
right? Because you don't want to be too rich in the soil. If you overfeed your grapes, they will be flabby, they will be lax. You need grapes, vines that feel a little bit threatened about their survival, so they will make the best possible grapes to try and spread those seeds somewhere else.
so the only time we would see black soil would be if it's all volcanic.
Right, yeah. If it was-
Otherwise, it's fertile and you don't throw grapes on that.
Yes, that is true.
Okay. All right, ready?
All right, so
Is it-
Tikves winery.
I thought maybe it was a video at first. It kind of looks
There
like-
will be one.
Oh, okay.
Worry not, there's a video. All right, established in 1885,
Wow.
located in northern Macedonia, so the independent country, not just the region,
Mhm.
right? Similar story to Armenia. Remember when we drank that Armenian wine? And their grapes, they basically are now coming onto the world scene because they had to recover the vineyards
Mhm.
from when the Soviets were running it.
Okay,
Because the Soviets just had them produce the maximum amount of juice they could at the cheapest possible level,
okay.
not going for
No
quality
quality.
at all.
Mhm.
And so they had to redo all these things and give them decades to recover, which is what we're now seeing and why we're
It's
starting to
taken
see
this
them.
long.
Right.
Right.
That is why it took this long. So the Armenian, for anyone that didn't drink the Armenian wine that I brought in, it will surprise you just like this.
Mhm.
Absolutely delicious. Barovo Vineyard is about 1,500 to 1,800 feet above sea level.
Oh, wow.
By the way, only 7.5 acres large. Like the size is 7.5 acres, and we get to drink it here in
No.
Gainesville, Florida,
That's crazy.
right?
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love stuff like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, it's an acreage. I mean, I know people that live on 10 acres.
Well, we
you
just
know, I
looked
mean,
at a
it's-
7 acre.
Right, we just
Yeah.
looked at a 7 acre lot.
Right.
Yeah, so it's. Yeah, it's crazy
Mm.
that it's that small and it's in Macedonia. And we're drinking it.
And we're drinking
Because
it
I
here.
could see, okay, California
Sure.
Yeah.
If we're in Manhattan, right? Someone will make it, right?
in Manhattan.
Like I could see it being imported to Manhattan before
imported to
Gainesville, Florida.
Manhattan. Okay, I thought you were saying grown in Manhattan.
no,
I was
no.
like-
I was saying if I could see if we're in LA or Manhattan.
Sure.
Or Chicago,
Miami,
right? You're gonna going to get something.
Gainesville. Yeah,
Well,
Okay.
I think it's basically a tribute to me and Tipples bringing this really cool stuff in. So everyone's welcome. Anyway.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Wait, we have a chat, thank goodness.
I was just-
Yeah, we thought the same thing, that you were saying growing it in Manhattan.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yes.
I was talking about importing and like I could expect in fine dining in Manhattan.
Why it's 7 acres of Manhattan? You just go and like claim part of Central
look-
Park and go, I'm gonna grow wine grapes here. And everybody will be
I'm
like,
pretty
that's
sure,
gonna be pretty crappy wine.
yeah, I'm pretty sure the rooftops would be nutritionally deficient enough,
Well, that's true.
Yeah, but they're going to get way too much water. So, all right, do 7 acres. Focus from this winery is on high quality grapes that are grown very traditionally and
Okay.
hand harvested and
Oh.
yeah.
Well,
So,
it's 7.5 acres, so.
well, they've got a lot more acres than that. This
Oh, okay.
this is a single vineyard,
This one
remember?
is,
Yeah,
okay,
they have a lot more,
okay,
right? But they're all hand harvested
wow,
with the locals. But then it comes into a very high-tech winery to make the most out of it, but they do minimal manipulation to really have you taste what's going on.
okay, so we're tasting the terroir and the grape and what it's expressing.
Right.
Okay,
They really wanted to put that through. Yes, there's some oak on here.
Mhm.
They needed some because there's quite a bit of tannin in here and you got to tame it a little,
okay,
but not more than they needed. And not more than, they didn't want to overwhelm it. None of us are talking about toffee or vanilla notes. We're
Mhm.
talking about spice and coffee and earth and,
Right.
so that is that minimal intervention.
okay,
And by the way, so I talked about how there was an investment after the Soviet Union fell.
Mhm.
This current winery and the group that owns it is a really good example of that money coming in and revitalizing and changing it to bring out the best in the region.
because you said this started in 1885,
Right,
but it's obviously gone through different iterations because of being
exactly.
part of the USSR.
Yep.
Okay, and then.
Manhattan, Kansas.
Manhattan, Kansas.
That's right.
I didn't know there was a Manhattan,
You know what?
Kansas. There you go.
We might actually have a better chance of growing grapes in Manhattan, Kansas than in Manhattan, New York. Right, next one.
All right.
All right, so one of the things that they're talking about here is and the
Latitudes.
Tikves, yeah, and along the growing latitude,
Mhm.
you're talking about Bordeaux, Tuscany, and Napa are all in the exact same growing latitude.
Oh, okay,
So they're saying, hey,
Sure.
hey, we can do some great things here.
right.
So you could almost say, like, they're trying to bring Zinfandel at that very high level. I know it's not technically Zin,
Right,
you know,
well, it's not called.
but they're growing grapes to that high a level, and that is their goal.
They want to be on par with.
Right.
How you think
With the
about.
best in the
Tuscany
world,
and Bordeaux and Napa. Okay. All right, let's see, chat. Oh, that's where Kansas State is. I didn't know that. Manhattan,
No.
Kansas is where Kansas State is. Did not know that.
He's next. All right, so this is the actual Barovo
Well, yeah,
vineyard
you
itself.
can see.
Yeah, and you can see the mountains, you can see the elevation it must have because it's part of these, up the foothills up into those mountains.
But when you see like, okay, so you're seeing all these like grapevine fields,
Hmm.
and then you see just a field of grass in the middle.
Right.
Is that because they're letting it rest, or would you look at that and say it's because for whatever reason, that's not a good place to grow them, or,
I don't know.
okay,
It could be because the grapevines there were too old and they've
Okay.
torn them out and they're going to replant.
okay.
I honestly can't tell you why.
Because you don't do rotating crops with grapevines.
No.
Okay.
You want those guys to be in there for,
Right.
30 to 50 years.
That's what I was thinking, but I don't have a lot of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't
ag-
tell you why that is. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look like it would be the very bottom where it would get too wet. I don't know why that's
Yeah, I don't know. I have all kinds of ag questions. We didn't have a lot of ag in Key West.
right.
Unless you're growing key limes.
Right. And I
That's
am a
about it.
sommelier, not an enologist,
Yeah,
so I
there you
have
go.
some answers, but not all.
Okay,
All right.
next.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Hand picks. So they're really proud of the fact that they really do have hands-on and they really work on their grapes first before they go into the winemaking. And I think that comes from because it was very industrial production before and they want to get to the sustainable artistic
Right,
production now.
yeah.
And so it's very, very important to them. So,
I'm sure it's been very satisfying reclaiming
it's got to be,
the,
right?
yeah, the land and the way it's grown and
Yeah,
everything.
and be able to show artistry from your region and show what you can
Right.
do.
Yeah,
And now that we have such an incredible distribution system in the world, you can share it with the world. It's not just regional.
true.
Oh, I get it. I get it. All right, next one, please. So this is the head winemaker, and this is just kind of referring to exactly what I was talking about. They don't want to interfere too much, pay respect to the grapevine and the fruits. So it's all about purity. They're emphasizing their terroir, right?
Mhm. So, so he's the head winemaker,
Right.
but not the owner of this.
No,
Okay.
there's an ownership group. It's a pretty big group.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. Because
And they'll cover that.
they will.
Mhm.
All right. Because I was gonna ask, very often we have like family owned wineries from these like
No, this is
lesser known.
this is an ownership conglomerate that came in. They
Okay.
really know their wine
Okay,
and they really want to bring out the best in the area. But it is a big group that came
Mhm.
in and bought the area and is working and I think succeeding
right.
and making some beautiful wine. So as much as we always love rooting for the fifth generation family owned
Right,
thing, this is not one of those guys.
Mhm.
It's a business,
right.
but they're doing a beautiful job.
Well, and they're helping Macedonian wine too. So
Right.
it's not just, it's
Right.
not.
And with
it's
hand harvesting and all
family,
that, they're
but-
clearly helping the Macedonians.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, so this is their restaurant and tasting room. You can see the aging room right behind
Yeah.
the back.
So they don't have just a tasting room, they have an entire restaurant.
They do. They have
That's-
like a whole destination. to come by. It's considered one of the best places to go visit if you're in Macedonia for wine tourism. Mm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, here we go.
Here it is. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's what it said. Mhm.
Six investments, right? Right. No, they're coming. There it is.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Good.
I had a question about one part of that video. So when the grapes are going down the little conveyor belt, and are they taking out stems
Yeah.
and okay,
They're descending
yeah. I don't think we've seen that.
and
anything
getting
like
rid
that
of ruptured
before.
grapes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So if you left in ruptured grapes, too much skin.
It's just, you kind of, it's not going to hurt anything really.
Okay.
You know, the stem's definitely more than
Sure.
a ruptured grape.
Mhm.
But if you have a ruptured grape, maybe the seed's going to be on the outside, and when they press, it's going to get crushed.
Oh,
You don't want
okay.
the seeds crushed too much
Right.
because seeds give an astringent quality.
Okay.
And so you could do that gentle press, which is people talk about it a lot. Because if you just crush it and pummel the whole thing,
Right.
then you're going to get that astringency from the seeds.
Okay.
And, which comes in the form of over the top tannins, but it's really just goes beyond.
Okay.
And that also comes from the stems. That's why you get rid of the stems.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
So,
This is going to try to start again. So.
oh, it always does. That's,
Yeah.
there we go.
All
So we can stop the share, talk for a minute before
Mhm.
we go into the score discussion. All right, so that's the spiel. Any thoughts?
It actually paired really well with that hot sauce that we bought from you last night. Like
Oh.
I doused my taco with that, and it kind of the spiciness went well with that hot sauce. I liked it a lot.
Well, I like the call because spicier meats go well with Zinfandel.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll have to try that. We don't have a meal that would go well with the hot sauce, but spicy sauce.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But tonight, but
It'd be so boring to want these meal along.
What was that?
the what?
Sorry, that was
Teenagers.
Lily. Sorry.
Oh,
Teenagers
okay.
yeah.
invited to speak. We had not remuted. Our apologies.
No, it's fine. She's like, where did that
She's
come
like,
from?
oh
You're right.
Hi, Lily.
Hey, Lily.
So, will this get, because it can age, but how long will it be good? Because I don't think I've asked this. So if you don't drink your entire bottle tonight,
Okay.
how long does it stay good? The next day,
Well,
2
that'll
days?
that'll
Do
depend on how
tannins
you
have
treat it.
any influence on it? Like what? how
For the
long-
record, though, if you don't finish your bottle tonight, every single screen started laughing. I'm
just saying-
yeah, what will we do?
If you are watching the video and you're not drinking the whole bottle tonight, what would be your advice?
It's no more nor no less than most ones, right?
Okay, so I don't think we talked about it
Right,
before.
so- If you take this bottle
Mhm,
and you pop the cork in,
mhm,
back in, throw it in your fridge,
mhm.
and say you had 2 glasses, you're waiting to have it tomorrow. It will not be as good.
Okay,
It will be a little over opened, but it
Okay.
won't be bad,
okay,
but it won't be the same. So if you put a little wine preservative in there and then pump out all the gas.
right,
Right, to try and get in there, it will be almost, and put it in the fridge and then let it warm up. It'll be almost, so it depends on what you
Almost
do
the
to
same.
it, right?
okay,
Yeah, if you do minimal, if you just throw the cork back in it and stick it on your counter, gonna be a little bit less good than being in the fridge.
okay,
If you don't put your cork in it, leave it open, sitting on your counter, it's gonna be pretty not good, the
okay,
next day.
okay.
So, wine being that living thing.
Right.
Is
But
pretty reactive to the oxygen.
does anything about ageability influence any of that.
Yeah, it does. A bigger, robust red is more likely to survive the night
Okay,
than say, you know, just
Pinot Grigio.
a Pinot Grigio or something
Okay.
like that, something delicate and light and that kind of thing. Or
Okay.
even a Pinot Noir, the
Okay.
lighter reds, right?
Right.
They're not going to survive the night as well.
Okay.
Unless you put some preservative and, you know, do something extra.
Yeah, and pump out the air and stuff.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. I
Yep.
just hadn't asked that before, and then
Uh-huh.
everyone laughed at me. Wine left over.
Ah, leftovers. It's an adorable concept.
So
well.
tell us what you were eating with it. I know,
We had some great pairings tonight.
well, I know that Laura Lynn and Brendan John had something with hunter sauce,
Oh, yeah, she doesn't know what you have.
right? And then I'm not sure what the other pairings were. They're typing.
Oh.
You can
it's
take the
coming.
mic too.
Yeah, do you want to talk?
Yeah,
Talk.
mushroom ravioli and cheese ravioli.
Oh, yeah.
With
Okay.
the hunter sauce, yeah.
That sounds
That is
great.
fantastic.
That you had a ravioli on the, one of the pairing suggestions.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where I got the idea. I'm not
Okay.
that creative.
I need to start just like sending my mom pictures of the last slide and being like, hey.
Yeah, in case you just think about it.
In
you know?
case you want to do
I think
something.
that's a brilliant idea.
Well, then she'll be like, oh no, I'm going to.
Yeah, I'm
just
not
be-
taking
be
requests.
contrary, yeah.
Right. So,
Any other interesting pairings? I know we had the spicy sauce with it.
Yeah, so I Googled the wine, because I wanted to learn more about it, and it was like, do you mean Barolo? And I was like, no. But,
Yeah.
so Barovo, very hard to Google, but, we did, I guess the national dish of Macedonia is tavshagravsha. It's very fun and confusing to say, but basically it's just like slow simmered beans. And then Macedonia is, I guess, very Orthodox. So this is a vegetarian dish. So they have it on Fridays traditionally, but we added lamb because we are heathens. But yeah, so it was like beans and peppers and a lot of paprika and lamb and stuff like that. It went great with it. So
Nice.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Like it was like, again, like paprika, some spicy peppers, some lamb, stuff like that. No, it went beautifully with this. And I will say, I love this wine. This is one of my favorite wines we've had in this entire thing. Entire time we've been doing this. It really reminded me. I had to go grab this because I was like, it reminds me of this. The Millimore,
Oh, yeah.
which I can't remember. The grapes were aged for something else, and I cannot remember what they were. It was some liqueur, and I was like, "This reminds me of this. This is phenomenal. I love this wine."
Yeah, the Millimore, they dehydrate the grapes a little bit,
Yeah,
just like they do with Amarone. So it's basically a
Amarone, that's
South
what-
American Amarone style.
Huh.
So which, once again, we're kicking over to a new world, old world thing. Actually, this is old
Yeah.
world, but still. But yeah, I agree, like, because Zinfandel, because of its fruity character, kind of presents itself new world, right? So to me, I know it's old world, but it drinks almost like new world meets
Right.
old world,
Right.
which I like the Millimore, like that thing, which is that very much new world meets old
Mm-hmm.
world in expression.
And then,
Yes.
no problem, Myra. Yes, it does open significantly from start to 30-40 minutes.
Yes.
Mhm. And then it does continue, but that we discussed that was our big
Right.
difference, is the first like half hour to 40
Yeah, I'd
minutes.
say, yeah, but
Yeah.
first 34 minutes, yeah.
Mhm.
They'll just keep going, giving you a little more lusciousness. So good. I appreciate that from Chris, because when I tasted this, I lit up. I
Yeah.
lit up. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, hello. Where have you been? So, all right,
The scores?
let's go to the scores.
All
So
right.
this guy has gotten 91 plus 92s. It's gotten 96s, 97s. It's all,
Mhm.
but everything is kind of up in that outstanding quality, but fair enough, right? So a lot of wines are given outstanding numbers.
Mhm.
even when they're very, very good, right? But, and one thing I always like to point out is a very good wine with special qualities is a very nice wine that you're glad you bought, right? So even in the 80s, it should be fine. Effectually in the world, they don't use it that way very much,
Mhm.
right? And they'll use an 89 for, oh, that's still a very good wine, you know, you're doing okay. But if you were to give a wine an 85, the effect in the real world is they consider that to be a near failure.
Right.
Unfair, but it is
Unfair.
the way that they group things, right?
Mhm.
So here we have a combination of price point, enjoyment, intrigue,
Mhm.
character, and how good is it for the area that you would kind of coalesce into what you would put in there.
It's
That's
the
what they
best
do.
wine from Macedonia that I have ever
Hey.
had in my life.
Fair enough. And you know what? I have one other one in the store.
Okay, let's get you out of
We
them.
can try that one too. I have Macedonia. Oh, man, you know what? Color me a fan.
Well, certainly the ones that they are distributing over to here, I
Right.
think that's the thing too, like if you
Oh, yeah.
are, it's a single vineyard on 7.5 acres. If you are being distributed into the United States, into Gainesville, Florida, you must be a pretty darn good
You're right.
wine
It
if you're
goes
coming from
through-
Macedonia.
It goes
Yeah.
through several steps, right? For example, you know, those guys, at some point, Eric Solomon and his company got involved, tasted it and said, yes.
Right,
And we're going to bring it to multiple countries,
Yeah.
you know, right? So yes, and that is the nice thing when you have those layers,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of people are like, oh, direct to consumer is awesome. Like, okay, it is. All right. I'm not going to hate on direct to consumer, but there is actual value added in the people in between
sure,
that have knowledge and expertise, kind of narrowing down the path, because not everything that's crushed is going to turn into great wine. right?
sure, absolutely.
All right. I
Okay.
think we've got some
We
chats.
do. Okay, let me scroll back here.
Yeah.
We have. Chris says 95.
Woo-hoo.
Okay, so the
Right.
whole group of four, Laura, Linda, Brenda, and John, all say
Wow.
94, and can they order more?
Yes.
Robin is a 93. Is it Jerry and Harriet both at a 93? Okay,
Wow.
and then Samantha is at a 94. Dr. Fricker is a 92. Does Taja agree with you too? 92? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. A would buy again. Awesome. Better with that it's opened. And that,
Oh,
that was
sure.
what we were saying to Myra too.
Yeah.
Brian, I agree with Dr. Fricker. Liked it better as it opened up. Julie says 93. Brian is a copycat and says 93. No, he genuinely liked it. Wow. That's, yeah.
Well,
That's great. And then Linda is a 91. Okay, Myra's excited for it to
Right, she
open.
just cracked into
She
it,
just cracked
so.
it. Yep.
All right. So,
Okay. I really like it. I would have said 93.5.
all right.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a delicious wine. I'll give, you know, like I'm always like, you know, I tend to be like, all right, I want reserved and not too crazy. Easy 93, 94 for me. I love this wine.
Right.
I absolutely think it's fantastic. And I don't know that I've thrown that number up before. So
You don't normally throw numbers.
I often don't.
So-
This wine blew me away.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I love that. And like I said, once again, I know I'm
Mhm.
repeating myself,
Right.
but the fact that new world lovers can love this wine, old world lovers can love this wine. Obviously, Chris and Robin are very much old world lovers.
Right.
And yeah, it's I just think it's a great wine.
Right.
Well done. Like,
Mhm.
you know, killed it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you said Macedonia last week, which I did forget in between last week and this week, but I was interested definitely to try it, but I wasn't thinking, oh, this is going to be a fantastic wine.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, all
There you go.
right. But, and I love that Myra's dog is back, looking very unimpressed with
Right.
all of it.
So like, been to Macedonia. Yeah. You have not, you're a liar.
All right,
Okay.
we'll thank our sources.
Yes, let's thank our sources.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for chiming in on your thoughts. I'm
Yes.
glad everyone liked it. All right, so thank you to Wine Folly, always amazing resource. I encourage everyone, if you want to learn more, Wine Folly, start there. 750.com, Wikipedia, wine.com, WSET Global, UC Davis Foundation Plant Services, wine traveler, wine of Greece, Viator, and wine tourism. So,
That's a lot of sources this week.
you know, I do a lot of work for this. Hope you all are very appreciative.
There you go, and I'll put my little PSA out that I do every once in a while, which is if you use Wikipedia, please throw them like $5-10 or something, you know,
Yeah.
or more. But if you use it, give them some support.
So we've got it, yeah.
We do
Just
have a
use it.
chat.
We have a chat and then I'll
Right.
go to.
Crowd pleaser and more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great character, right? All right, so
Next week.
next week, you guys have been kind enough to drink through the world with me. We have been, what we were in the Southern Hemisphere 3 in a row.
Okay.
And now, you know, Northern Hemisphere, but barely, you know, some intriguing places. We've done rosés, we've done interesting reds. It's time for a hug, right?
Okay.
And you guys have earned it. So next week, we are going back to
California.
Napa Valley, California. What? Oh my God, do they make good wine there? So by the way, look at the ratings on this guy.
Yeah, right.
So this is a red blend from Napa Valley, so big they had to name it the Leviathan. It pulls in tremendous ratings. We'll see what we think.
Okay.
Right, fair enough. Big food pairings again,
Mhm.
but you know, we did like 2 whites and we had a lot of lighter wines. It was summertime. We're getting into the fall. It's cooling off a little
technically
bit.
Still summertime.
Oh my gosh.
Until the 21st or
Running this
22nd.
morning was so good. It was delightful. All right, so ribeye steak with garlic butter, braised elk and mushrooms. How about that?
Braised elk.
Yes, we're on it.
Okay.
I'll order the elk online.
Yeah.
Teriyaki glazed tofu steak with smoked paprika and garlic cream sauce. Boom, there it is
Yeah.
for Linda.
The vegetarian.
That's right.
Yeah, no,
No, honestly, that sounds really delicious.
no, it sounds really great. If we could ever get tofu to do what it's supposed to do in our house, that would be.
So difficult, right?
Mhm.
You know, for us.
Hey Jeff, how about a recipe for that smoked paprika and garlic cream sauce with that tofu?
I can look at my search again and send it over to you because,
Go back in your history and.
yeah, actually, I combined 2 things because I thought it sounded better. To be honest, there is no recipe
Okay.
I found for that. Because I found a tofu steak
Mhm.
and it was with like a salsa sauce and I thought, nah, that's not what I want to do. And then I saw what they called a cauliflower steak
Mhm.
with the teriyaki and smoked paprika and all that. And I thought, I kind of want that on the tofu. I think that would work.
Yeah.
So to be honest, that's just a concept I made up.
Great. Thanks, Jeff.
It's not helpful
Hey,
at all.
I'm gonna tell you, it all sounded delicious though, right? I'm not wrong. I just don't know how to make it.
That's why we're
My
all
mom would
sitting
be
here
like-
saying, where is your recipe for garlic and smoked
Paprika,
paprika sauce?
yeah.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, just show up at my mom's house and just give her the name of it and be like,
That's right.
here you go, this is what we want for
This is
next
it.
week.
Here we go. We all
We
know,
might never be cooked for again.
we all know it would be delicious.
It would be delicious,
Yeah.
but there's no recipe.
Hey, I
so-
could find the little bits and pieces and put it together. I believe in everyone.
First, you offered to find it, and then you said, I believe in
I'm
everyone.
gonna say, you know what? I wish I had the time to just cook like I'd like to cook.
There
I
you
would
go.
love to.
Mashed potatoes with garlic.
So, all right, so there it is.
All right. Thank
Next
you,
week's
everyone,
wine.
for
Thank you all for coming. Let's toast to this wonderful Macedonian treat.
Cheers, everyone.
Sláinte.